Hello once again, guys, girls, and dank memers. The Squire here, gonna do a patch 5.8 rundown. Yeah, I just really like doing these videos specifically. They're fun. I like talking about patch notes and theorizing what's gonna maybe fall off, what's gonna be good, and stuff like that. So I hope you guys enjoy as well. So this patch, we got a lot of stuff that I personally am super excited for, specifically Black Cleaver, but we'll get to there in a second. So they're changing some stuff with casting. It's not that big, it's just there's a way to make it so you can do quick cast with range indicators. So test that out if you guys like it. It's pretty cool, so I don't know, it's up to you. It's all just personal preference. I'll tinker with it and see if I like it, but check it out, it's pretty cool. So here we go. Here's one of the things I'm super excited for. Rise changes, thank God. His Q is now a skill shot. We'll get into that, but that's one of my favorite parts. Okay, so all of his abilities and everything, that's all been changed. His character model and everything's the same since the texture update. So mana regen's lower, mana regen growth stat is higher, and armor growth stat is lower, which I feel is fair changes. So now his new passive, this is kind of why. So his new passive is it's not the old passive, every few stacks, or every spellcast gets a stack, and when he gets full stacks at, I think it's 5 stacks, yeah, becomes supercharged for a certain amount of time, increasing with ranks of his ult, and gets a shield that scales off of his mana and his level, and it makes it so basically how it was before, it lowers his cooldowns. So that's an interesting passive. I'm interested to see how that works out exactly. I mean, it could be a really cool passive. It gives him like windows, so he's not just like strong all the time. He has, they call it windows of power. He has certain times where he's should be fighting and certain times where it's not as smart for him to fight, which is cool. It helps you realize when you should fight someone and when you shouldn't. It adds a different level of strategy to the game. So that'll be cool. I don't know exactly how the shield will work out. It seems like it might be pretty strong, but it might not be that strong either. So they might have to buff it. So we'll just have to tinker with that and see how it goes. So his Q is now a skill shot. Stops on the first enemy it hits. Has a width, obviously, because it's a skill shot. Higher range, which is good for him. And mana cost is lower at all ranks and scales up as you rank it up. And then the mana ratio damage is lower, but the ability power ratio is higher, and the cooldown's a little higher. So that's good and bad for Rise. So building just straight mana won't get him as much damage as it did before, because I think they changed that on all of his abilities. So he actually will have to build kind of magey, which is good, because before you could build like Frozen Heart and still get even more damage out of it. So while they're trying to keep that as part of his kit, they are making it so building AP is actually going to be necessary. So that's good. Basically he has more range, so he has more room to harass, which might make him viable more as a mid laner instead of like a count. Like he had some mid lane play where it was against like assassins, but now he might actually be able to be played mid lane as a normal standard kind of mage, sort of. His W base damage is lower, except early on it's higher at rank 1, and that's it. Mana ratio is lowered. Ability power ratio, sort of the same thing, not too much different on his W. And then his E is interesting, so like you cast on something and then it calculates like how many things are around it and does damage to the things around it and does more damage based on how many things are there. So, and reduces magic resist. So you I like this about Rise. So it makes it so you have to decide when you're laning against him, if you're not behind, if you think you can dodge his Q, you step out of minions and just dodge his Q, but if you want to block his Q, you have to risk getting hit by his E. So it adds counterplay, and you have to decide when you, or where you want to be standing and how you want to play against him. Instead of him just walking up and just spamming buttons at you, you can actually like decide how and when you want to fight him, and how to trade with him in lane. So that's good. I really hope he doesn't get played top more, because range top suck, but that's a different story. So yeah, ratio, I don't know if it's lower, it's just different. It doesn't have any old stats. But yeah, so basically if you clump up with stuff, it's going to do more damage. His ult is pretty similar. It increases his passive's duration, and gives cooldown reduction now. So that's good. He's going to get a shit ton of cooldown reduction for free. But that's kind of just Ryze's kit. I think he had that on a different one of his abilities before, but I can't remember. And now his cooldown on his ult is higher early, lower later. Duration is lower at all ranks. So what this all means, Ryze is going to be different, and it's going to take some playing with him to figure it out, but I think he's definitely in a better spot now than he was before on a overall balance wise, because he's not so point and clicky, which means that they can do more stuff with him and balance him better in the future. Even if he's not like super strong when he first comes out, they can tweak his numbers without being oppressive or whatever. It's not like he's either broken or useless. It's like he can have some intermediary things. Thank God for this change. So when you were supposed to be unstoppable, Charm could fucking stop you, which was stupid, and now it doesn't. So that's great, because Malphite ulting at someone and hitting a Charm and not being able to, like, Ahri's Charm annoys me enough as it is, because you just get hit by it and walk towards her, but this is a good change. It's not going to make her unplayable or anything. She'll still see about the same play she has been. That's about it. Bard's Chimes, this is cool. They'll avoid spawning in enemy jungle before 5 minutes, and it's higher experience, which is actually great, because it seemed like you would stay in lane for the first little while, and then you try and go get Chimes and stuff, because they'd be stacking up, and you're like, shit, I need to get these. It's never a good idea to leave lane, like, before 6 and go get Chimes, unless there's, like, you know, there's always exceptions, but it's usually not a good idea. But now, like, but when you go get them, it feel like you just fall behind in XP, but now you should keep up in XP, even if you're going to get Chimes, which is good. Bard's getting there. I think he just needs some time, and people get more experience on him before he's super strong, or considered super strong, because that's how the meta works. But I think he's getting there slowly. Blitzcrank fix, basically. So the movement speed decays more slowly after they change his W, and his movement speed bonus cannot decay below 10%. So basically, like, they tried to change him to make him more, so he can just run at you forever, which is great. But, like, it was, like, bugged or something, and it was horrible, and you'd W, and you'd basically lose movement speed the whole time. It felt like you were useless when you used W. So, like, when you're playing Blitzcrank, you couldn't even W, but that'll fix it, so that's good. Increased visibility when placed in brush. Just a little quality of life thing there. That's good. Numbers on the tooltip refunds 100% of the health cost on killing, so that's very helpful for his early laning phase, so that's good. And then dynamic numbers, so nothing too crazy. It's not going to make Mundo stronger or weaker or anything. Like, he's not going to get played more or less than he is. He's seeing Ryze with the TP smite. I saw him played in the relegation tournament, like that by Seraph, I think it was. So this will help him early game, and I mean, I guess at all stages, but really more early game, that's when it really matters. So that'll help his laning phase and help him keep up with the other tanks right now, because he's actually not, like, too played. I haven't seen him very much. The lack of CC is kind of part of that, but that'll help him. Lower damage on Buckshot, great. That'll help him stop being so oppressive in lane. Lower AD ratio, bonus damage per bullet. All of this basically, while it looks like it's all nerf, what they did is, I think here is basically, it's still a nerf overall, but if you hit all 3 bullets, it'll do basically the same amount of damage, if not more. Yeah, it'll do the same damage or more early on. So basically they make it so you just can't spam Q and harass people down. You have to, like, if you hit all 3, you're actually doing the proper amount of damage. So that's good. Okay, this one, everyone was freaked out. I heard so much stuff like, oh, Jinx, fuck, Jinx is dead, rip Jinx, she's gone. This is not that big of a deal, okay? It's totally balanced, makes total sense. She's the only AD carry, I think, the only one, or one of the few, that's over a 50% win rate. She has like a 54 or something. She has like the 3rd or 4th highest win rate, at least when I checked the other day on LOL King. So I could be wrong on that. But she still has the execute on the damage. She still can snipe people with it, and it still does the same amount of damage after a little bit. It's just the minimum damage when you're like point blank shooting a rocket at someone at level 6 is not gonna do as much damage. It'll still do a lot of damage, especially if they're low, because it has an execute. But it was just ridiculous that at level 6, a quote-unquote hyper carry who quote-unquote scales really well in the late game but has a quote-unquote weak early phase could destroy you at 6 because of that ult. Like, and it's not the only reason why, but like, she's supposed to be like really good late game, but honestly, in my opinion, she's the best AD carry if they don't have too much that can chase you down, because she is immobile. But if you position right, you're fine. But she's strong at all points in the game. Early game, mid game's insanely strong, and her late game's insanely strong. Her early game is strong enough, and this just helps tone it down a little bit, so she does have to scale at least somewhat. But she'll still be really strong. She's not going to die off, I promise. She'll be great still. Earlier healing on Kha'Zix is great for him. He's pretty rough in the jungle right now, so this will help him out. It's just early on, nothing too crazy. But it will help him survive in the jungle, because it's fucking rough on him early in the game, so that'll help him a bunch. W, he doesn't have to stop to cast it, which is great. Kind of like Nunu Blood Boil, which is good now, and automatically targets the nearest allied champion of self-cast, which is cool. And they did the same thing with Nunu. Then we can talk about this this nerf right here. So 6 times 18, that's quite a bit of health. I don't even think it's 100. Wait. Yeah, I don't think it's even 100. So it is kind of a nerf, but it's not as bad, because he's one of the strongest junglers right now. Not a lot of people play him, but you can get dragons so easy and stuff like that. And he messes up 80 carries by just throwing a snowball, and so it just makes him a little less tanky. He doesn't necessarily do the most damage or anything, but it's a good change for Nunu. I think that'll help balance him out a little bit, make him less tanky, but he'll still be extremely good. I mean, he's still the objective control king with blood boiling for towers and consume for objectives, so I doubt that'll stop Nunu's play whatsoever. Now for Pantheon, just a quick quality of life change, just like TF and Rek'Sai. When you ult, it pings that you're on your way. Shen, when you ult someone, it places him between his target and the closest visible enemy champion. So basically, like if a skill shot's coming in and he finally ults in, he might block it, which is good. I mean, if you're going full damage Shen, it might actually be a nerf to damage Shen if you do play that, because who knows, you might get hit by something and just blow up instantly. But you know, it's a good little quality of life change for Tank Shen to help him out, since he is kind of outclassed by a lot of other tanks. Speaking of other tanks Shen is outclassed by, Sion is now getting nerfed a little bit. Nothing. This is a great change, because Sion was absolutely oppressive in lane. You could watch Sion 2v1 some games, like, and win trades against 2 people, which was ridiculous. Now they're just trying to slowly nerf him back without making it too bad. Late game, his damage is the same on his shield, but early game it's not as much, so it means he can't use his shield to completely destroy you in lane, because you could walk up and pop your shield and chunk him while your shield would block most of the damage. And it takes longer to detonate the shield, so you have a chance to pop the shield before you can pop it on you, which is good. Overall, he's still, in my opinion, a pick-ban champion. You should pick him, or you should ban him. Don't leave him open unless you want to have a tank that does more damage than most junglers. So, or even him as a jungler, just destroy your whole team. CC trained for days, super high amounts of damage. He's super strong, so and he won't change that, I guarantee. Bug fix: Twitch can now, when he's ulting, hit inhibs on the Nexus, which you couldn't before, which you could lose games because, but I thought it was always a pretty common bug that everyone knew about, so you probably shouldn't have done it. But I mean, this just fixes it. It's a simple bug, and that's good. Just better E on Warwick. Fixes it so it takes up to 2 seconds to detect low enemies, so it's just a bug fix, nothing too crazy there. Bug fix with his ult, that's good, nothing too crazy on any of those really. No, it's not going to change their play or anything. Shield strength, I like this Yasuo buff, so he's going to get more on his shield, which is good because he's super weak early game. His health is really low and you can just get blown up super easily, but the shield is bigger, which is good. but it does take a little longer to charge it, and it increases at 1, 7, and 13. But I mean, if you do it right and you trade smartly as Yasuo, this will help him out a shit ton. It's big enough early game that it might help him out enough to see some more play, but he does still take so long to ramp up that it can be a little rough sometimes. So I think we should watch, but like, you can try him out. I think he's definitely gonna be stronger. I have always thought he's semi-strong. The issue is he gets shut down by CC. He's got a really high skill cap, and he's super weak early game. So I don't know. We'll see. I think it'll start his slow rise back into play, but for right now, I think people will ignore him as of now, but later he'll be much stronger. So texture rebalances, Shyvana, Teemo, Shaco, Poppy, Nocturne, Lux, they all look fantastic. Go check it out on Surrender at 20. I think this is the last of the texture balances, so just making everyone look better, and it's done fantastic so far, so that's good. But now, on to my favorite part about this patch, and what I'm super excited for is the new Black Cleaver. So they're trying to avoid the League of Cleavers again, but this will definitely help. This change is, instead of nerfing tanks, this is their answer to tank busting, and I love it because tanks can still be strong. It's just great itemization changes, so the meta is just great. And I know some people are hating the tanks right now. I don't think they're as big of a problem, and with this, it won't be as bad. So I don't know. I think this is going to be fantastic, along with the Bork change that they're about to have. But anyway, let's get to this change. So the champions that use this are going to change a lot because of the Phage Kindle Gem build path. First of all, thank God the combined cost is down, because now it's a reasonable combined cost, and it's not the 1,200 that you needed before, but that rant's over. So it builds out a Phage and Kindle Gem, but the total cost is unchanged, which is great because it's getting so much more cost efficiency. So it loses the armor pen and the brutalizer build path, which is part of the reason that a lot of champions won't be building that, but I'll get to that in a second. Double the amount of health, so 400 now. 10 less AD, which is kind of an issue, but it gets double the cooldown reduction, so 20%. 20% CDR, and the duration is 6-second duration, and it shreds. It has more stacks for shredding, and it has rage, so you get like the Phage passive basically, so you get more movement speed. So the reason it's gonna be built on different champions. So because the brutalizer is not part of the build path, that used to be a huge spike in a lot of people, and not a lot of people would even build into Black Cleaver or even Youmuu's. Most people would just leave it at brutalizer because it was such a gold efficient item and really good early game. But without that, champions like Riven will not be building this. I can guarantee that. I mean, some people will try, but I honestly don't think it's that good, and most Rivens build cooldown reduction so that the increase isn't that, it won't. It's just not a good change for her. I think Youmuu's is probably still better on her if you do that, but you should probably just build brutalizer and forget about that till later. But anyway, that's my opinion. Pantheon will not be able to build this as efficiently because of lack of brutalizer. Jace, maybe. Basically a champion that likes to build brutalizer, this will not be good on. But champions I think that this will be really good on is Renekton, Wukong, which is my personal favorite right now, Garen, and Darius I think will be some of the biggest benefactors of it, because they all need to be able to stick to targets and can apply the shred the most efficient. That's the most important part. Garen, Wukong, Darius, and Renekton, all with their spins, which is funny enough, can all apply the shred well enough, and all actually have their own armor shred except for Garen to stack with it. But just instant Wukong ult, Garen E, Renekton Q, which isn't as good as the others, and Darius Q, which isn't as good as Garen and Wukong, can just apply the stacks really fast, which is super efficient, and they all benefit from cooldown reduction a bunch. So I think this will be great on them. I don't know if anyone will be rushing this item. I mean, we could see what happens, but I think you lose out on damage in your lane matchup. Most people will still stick to Ravenous, or Garen probably could rush this item because he usually builds full tank anyway, but I think Sunfire or Spirit Visage first would probably be better. I don't know, I don't play a lot of Garen. I play decent. But anyway, I think it'll be great on all them for the Phage passive and just the way they can apply Armor Shred. It's different than others. So there's that. I'm super excited. I'm going to be trying this out on a bunch of people. I think it's a great answer to the tank meta. Instead of just nerfing tanks, just trying to balance it all out, which is great. Recurve bow, so basically it's just a better build path. That's it. Daggers, it just builds out of daggers now and has a little more gold and has this passive on it, which makes it a better item early on. And it builds into more stuff now. So like Bork, and here's another big buff for tank fighting this patch, is that before the percent health didn't benefit from lifesteal, but now it does, which I always thought it did, but I guess not. But that's huge for tanks because everyone's complaining about Thornmail, so this gives you more lifesteal and the percent health that you need to deal with tanks. So Bork is even better than it was before. Passive with minimum damage. Apparently it had a minimum damage, and now they buffed that. And it has a better build path out of Recurve Bow. So this item's just better overall, especially with Recurve Bow doing extra damage, so you're not sitting on like 2 awkward daggers, so that's good. Runan's higher gold, but it deals extra little damage on hit based on Recurve Bow. So nothing too crazy. I don't think it'll be better on anyone you're losing. You don't have crit, so I think Kalista will be the only AD carry that still builds this. The lack of crit really hurts any other AD carry. The only reason Kalista doesn't is because she can stack spears for days and use Rend. So that's the only reason she's the champion that builds Hurricane. People are like, well, why don't I build Hurricane on X? Because it works well with them. Because they probably would benefit better from crit and do more damage. Kalista just does good at surviving in fights longer so that she can Rend and stacking spears. It's not like she has a limit. So that's why. Nothing too crazy there. Build path betterment, gold unchanged for Wit's End, and then Devour, build path betterment. So that's it. I think it's this, yeah, same gold. So nothing changed there. And then Righteous Glory, tiny nerf. I think it might stop some of as many supports building it. But then again, I think it's so good on a lot of supports. It's a cheap item that gives so many good stats, especially for supports and tanks, because they don't necessarily need the damage, but they love the engage potential. And it's only minus 50 health, so it does hurt, but it's still really good. So Righteous Glory, no major changes there. This is really just basically a bug fix for Dragon Buff 1. If you want to read it, you can. It has to do with ratios and the bonus damage. It really wasn't that big of a deal, but they were getting, I think, a little tiny bit more damage just from the buff, not from their actual ratios or anything. So it was a little weird, but they fixed it, and it's nothing too crazy. Summoner's Rift, loading screen. Oh, okay, yeah. We're on Helling Abyss. I'll talk about this really quick, even though it's not as big, but I love playing ARAM. I'm a huge ARAM fan, so this is big. So they're just fixing some of the stuff with structures and bushes, and the minions are all updated, so everything's basically trying to match the Summoner's Rift a little bit. It's not a full redo like Summoner's Rift, but there's no more Nexus Gnomes. May they rest in peace. Surrender timer is now shorter, although if you surrender on ARAM, you shouldn't be playing ARAM. ARAM's supposed to be fun, and you're supposed to have a good time. Even if you're getting crushed or whatever, just goof around, make some laughs. Don't take it too seriously, please. There's no real reason to surrender, just have fun. Even if you're losing, go dive into their team and just laugh about it, like, just have fun. Outer turret damage changes, or just turret damage changes. ARAM balance, it's just helping, I guess. Mark Dash, so kind of Poro King if you played that. If you hit someone with it's a summoner spell. If you hit someone with an ability, dash into them, or you can reactivate dash in, like a Lee Sin Q sort of. This is good for bruisers and stuff that would used to get poked out. It's interesting to see how that'll change. I mean, ARAM's random, you're not picking champions, so it'll just help you not get crushed if you're on a bad team or whatever. Bloodthirster's back, awesome, super great, item's good. Sanguine Blade is gone, item sucked. Basically, that simple. And then Warmogs is now on ARAM as well. So, just helping out some ARAM stuff. And then there's skin boosts, so you can get some IP and skins for your champion, kind of like they've done with all the custom game modes. So it's nothing too crazy. just 95 RP. So if you have a little left over and feeling generous. Twin Shadows change on those maps: Twisted Tree Line, Howling Abyss, Crystal Scar. Some other changes on other game modes. I don't really play them as much, so I don't want to comment on them. Friends list capped has been increased by 25 people because there's now Facebook integration, which is totally optional, and it's cool if you like that sort of stuff. I don't really care though. So there's that. Bug fixes on some sound effects, and Nars voiceover while dancing has been restored. So just some bug fixes for that. And then badass skins: Fiddlesticks, Xylene, Jace, and Ziggs. All look really good in my opinion. I want all of them, except maybe not Xylene because I don't play them at all. But they just look so good. Check them out on Surrender at 20 or when they come out, or on Skin Spotlight's YouTube page is also great. But other than that, that will be it for this patch. Have fun playing the new Rise and the new Black Cleaver, because I bet both those things will be pretty big for people. And thanks for watching. Have a great day, guys, and let me know how I did in the comments below, and don't forget to like and subscribe. Later.